This is the first episode of Cheshire by the Book, in which I visit Knutsford and Tatton Park. Today, you'll see deer by the dozen, waterfowl aplenty, and more aeroplanes than I ever wish to encounter in a day. And so, the book in question is Towns and Villages of Britain, Cheshire, by Ron Scholes. It was published in October 1999, so it is currently a quarter of a century old. However, I was gifted it not long ago, and as I was on the train to Knutsford, I remembered that it existed, so I had my executive producer send it over, or at least the Knutsford pages, so that I could use it as a guide. Let's see exactly what it has to say about Knutsford. So Knutsford is an attractive old market town on the edge of gently undulating lowland. At one time a staging post on the old Liverpool to London road, it now has the presence of Knutsford Service Station, Junction 19, on the M6. I didn't visit Junction 19 on the M6 or Knutsford Service Station, though I truly wish I had. I suppose all that's left to do is to get into the video and you can see for yourself exactly what I did and didn't see in Knutsford. By the book. I started my day in typical British fashion, by commuting in the rain. On the train, staring out of the rain-speckled window, I was hit with my idea. A little too late to execute that well, I nonetheless decided to plough on with it. I alight at Knutsford, and the rain has stopped. I see the station holds many accolades, and then I take to the streets for a little walk. A network of narrow streets and passages connects Knutsford's two main streets. Toft Road, the upper one, and King Street, the lower thoroughfare. Toft Road contains the thatched pub, the White Bear, and narrow King Street retains a number of interesting old houses. It is at this point that I should mention that a couple of the places I wished to visit were closed. This included the White Bear pub, which wouldn't open until after I'd gone home, and the Heritage Centre, which wasn't open until another day entirely. Many of the shops here are black and white half-timbered buildings, some genuine, others Victorian creations. However, amongst these properties is an amazing building, a single square stone tower in the Italianate style, the Gaskell Memorial Tower. This was commissioned by Richard Harding Watt, a Manchester glove manufacturer who used his wealth in engaging architects to carry out his ideas of fine building. Another lost cause that was mentioned by the book was the Church of John the Baptist. It's a brick building with a tower and nave. The aisles were composed of 5 bays with 2 tiered arch windows, and the interior consisted of Tuscan columns and 2 galleries. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a good shot of the front due to the trees, and I didn't manage to get inside either. I did, however, manage to go down a side alley for a different view. This concludes my viewing of book-mentioned points of interest within Knutsford itself, but I did have another quick stop to make. And that stop is a park. All good towns in England have at least one park. This actually stems back to Victorian England, where to combat problems caused by overcrowding and industrialisation, they created wide spaces for recreational activities and to help with public health. In my book, the best parks have 3 key features: wide open spaces for relaxing and playing sports, trees for shade and for walking under, and a duck pond to walk around and feed the ducks. So I'm going to grade them more in Knutsford. The open spaces here at the moor get a solid 4 out of 10. They exist, but not in any great quantity, although Tatton Park is nearby, so that makes this place almost defunct for that reason, if not for the kids' play area. The trees actually only get a 3. There are definitely trees here, though not many to walk under, and the duck pond is my favourite feature, and the score I give this one is 4 out of 10. I was able to walk near it, but sadly not around. It's not the biggest either. I do, however, decide ponds should get an extra point for every water-based bird species I see. So ducks, obviously, a heron, a cormorant, and 2 swans. This is 4 extra points, giving it an 8, and for a total of 15 for the whole park. That's a C in my eyes, and a great benchmark for future editions. As I bird watched at the park, I saw my first plane of the day, and my second shortly after, which filled me with a great, tremulous, nervy feeling that I always get seeing planes at takeoff. I don't feel like humans were meant to fly, and so seeing it from the outside kind of makes me nervous. I knew this would happen, of course. The end of Manchester Airport's runway must only be a few miles away from Knutsford. Having had my fill of ducks, I head to a bigger and even more wildlife-filled park next. A short walk through town leads me to Tatton Park, National Trust lands populated by roving bands of deer, which I immediately got to see, and sheep who I stumbled across later. Deer, by the way, are my favourite animal. Perhaps the stag is even my spirit animal. Who could say? What I'm trying to imply, though, is that this was an exciting day out for me. I walked deeper into the park and found myself strolling next to Tatton Mere, which was coincidentally right under the flight path of every plane coming out of Manchester, and the sight started to get a bit stale. It started raining on and off around this point as well, but I didn't mind so much. Eventually, I stopped to do a field test of my new gear. Okay, one last take, I think. Hello, everyone. This is Tatton Park. This is a mic check, really. I get a range of 20 metres apparently, but this is a lot less than that. Probably about the only amount I really need. I do have some sheep behind me, and there was a herd of deer, but it's moved away since I decided to start recording, got all the equipment ready. This is the middle of a road, so I won't be doing this for very long. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going quite well. I've done a couple of checks already. There's a few different bits of footage that I've done with the mic that seems to be working at this sort of level, so that's good. Enjoy. After my field test, I carried on walking, and it was around this point that the mansion was looming into view. So this is what the book had to say about Tatton Hall and Park. Tatton Hall lies 3 miles north of Knutsford. Its history goes back to a Saxon called Tartar, who established a homestead, Tartar's Tun. In Doomsday, the place is listed as Tattoon, Leofwin held it, and the lands were owned by Ranulf Manwaring. It was a small settlement with a little arable land, and the inhabitants consisted of one rider, 2 slaves, 2 villagers, and 4 smallholders. Over the centuries, the estate passed from one family to another, and eventually, from 1598, into the possession of the Edgerton family. In 1958, the magnificent house and park was bequeathed to the National Trust. The present hall was designed by Samuel and Lewis Wyatt in the neoclassical style. It was begun in 1788 to 91 and completed around 1807. I didn't visit the mansion, as it was of course closed, but I did visit the stable area, which now housed some interesting little shops and a cafe. Also, a big truck thing that I thought was cool. And then I completely missed the entrance to the gardens on my way out. It wouldn't be a video by questing for inspiration if I didn't mess pretty much everything up. I hammered out into the wilderness once again, finding more deer, stopping shortly after to do a spot of presenting, and this top-class footage speaks for itself. So, as you will have probably seen in the video already, I am in Tatton Park today. I actually got a really good picture of some deer behind me. No, start again. Hello, this is Tatton Park from a slightly different angle to the first many you will have seen the first time I spoke. Cut. Hello, this is Tatton Park from a slightly different angle to the one I've already shown you in a clip like this. But this time there is actually deer behind me, as you can see. There are many planes flying overhead, and as I probably mentioned in the video already, I am getting very, very annoyed with just how many there are. I'm going to show you a little clip in a second of the first attempt at recording this. And I did just see another plane. Oh yeah, yeah, here it comes. Literally, like every minute or so, a plane must take off or land at Manchester Airport, and it does kind of ruin the beauty of it a little bit. Yeah, as I will have mentioned in some other part of this video, I was actually kind of enjoying seeing the planes earlier, but now I'm just annoyed. Herd of deer grazing beneath a tree. Yeah, that was really loud. I told myself I would continue through to the exit after this and stop recording so much, but came across multiple interesting stops where my declining sanity due to aircraft noise was becoming apparent. Nice house, that.
Spooky. Ho ho! Echo! I am now going to be a tank. I'm definitely going to cut the audio for this one.
Soon enough, I was back at the entrance, and the deer who were lying down earlier had decided to flank the road out. It was a wonderful and slightly scary up close encounter, as I couldn't help but drift under the 50-metre suggested distance.
Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
I stopped for a much needed pint in a pub I had seen much earlier, with some lovely artwork of the place inside, before heading to the train station where I said goodbye to Knutsford and recorded my last playing of the day. The book did continue to talk about another posh estate that was a 40-minute walk from the town centre, but I decided hours ago that I wasn't going to visit it because, as with everything else on Tuesday in Knutsford, it was closed. Knutsford itself seems like a nice place, and Tatton Park with its deer was a truly beautiful little day out. I couldn't live here. I think the planes would drive me batty. In fact, here's a plane encounter supercut with the sound included, so you too can enjoy a little bit of the hell.
Hello, sheepies. I don't know if you can hear, but there is a plane in the background. As well as me. And a bunch of sheep. Beyond the plains, I think Knutsford showcases some of the stereotypes of Cheshire, propagated by the likes of Jeremy Clarkson, so feel free to watch the video I've linked in the description as an example. Knutsford isn't going to beat those allegations, but I'm Cheshire born and bred, and my experience is far removed from this. Towns like my birthplace of Crewe and the nearby Winsford have much less flashy reputations. I'm hoping through this series I can show the world all that Cheshire has to offer, and show that even the less flashy places are worth talking about. Like and then subscribe so you can tune into the next episode of Cheshire by the Book, and as always, keep on questing.